Hi everyone, welcome to the Basic Editor Training Review. Today we're going over web standards, profiles, and best practices. Let's start with image size standards. If we recall from the other training videos, we have specific size standards that we need to abide by as well as naming conventions. All of the images should fall within the underscore image folder within a root folder of Cascade. If you have no idea what this means, I highly recommend you hit pause and watch the other videos from the Basic Editor Training Review. Now let's take a look at a few image size standards. This is an example of a slider image. A slider image should be 1900 by 390 pixel. The naming convention should start with an SLD followed with a dash. We also have different size standards for one column with the naming convention 1COL dash. The Web Style Standards and Best Practices Guide is what defines and give you definitions of all of the images, meaning where it goes and what sizes it should be, as well as naming conventions. Please follow the instruction on the screen to find our web editing resources page. Now let's jump over to the Web Style Standards and Best Practices Guide really quick. On the left-hand side underneath forward, let's click on image sizes. Here on the image sizes page, you'll find a different type of image, the size of the image, the description of the image, as well as the naming convention. If you need additional support as far as image size standards, we also have a link to the kitchen sink right here. These are live examples of what an image will look like on the live website. Now, jumping back to the presentation, we have the web styles. We have specific colors and headers that were chosen in order to be ADA compliant. You'll mostly be working with header 2 or header 3. There is a video of how to create or edit a header because sometimes we see people trying to create them by adding their own blue and red. In the editor, there is a color selection as well as different sizes that you can change. You should never have to worry about the colors or creating a type of header yourself. So we highly recommend you watch the video because it walks you through how to create a header. Now, the next part of this training is profiles. Let's go over what you'll find in a profile. Unlike the other types of folder, you don't have that underscore widget folder because there are no widgets that appear on profile pages. You will have an underscore doc folder, an underscore image folder, and lastly, the index page. The underscore doc folder is for CVs or resume. The underscore image folder is for images. This is the profile image that you'll see. Also, the profile picture has its own size and naming convention. Just a reminder, there is a video available on how to edit a profile, so I highly recommend you watch that. So now we're going to wrap up with best practices. The first best practice is working with bullets, numbers, or headers. You want to make sure that you're using the one within the editor. We often see people who copy and paste bullets and numbers from the Word document, but the spacing is actually really off within Cascade. So if you do need to use bullets, numbers, or headers, make sure you take those off and re-add them within the Cascade editor. Just a small tip, if you're copying and pasting document from Word documents or PDFs, we highly recommend just pasting it to a notepad first, just to remove all the hidden codes from the Word documents and then adding it back to the Cascade editor. The second best practice is to keep names of the page brief and descriptive. There is a display name and that's what appears in the navigation. We just want to make sure we aren't repeating CSU Pubble since we are already part of CSU Pubble website. Please be mindful what root folder you're working on so you're not repeating irrelevant information. The next best practice is to keep buttons and links action-oriented. Naturally, with buttons and links, all you can do is click on them. When we see an editor type click here, we actually edit the words out in order to keep the buttons and links action-oriented. We highly recommend you keep that practice in mind. The next best practice is to think about your spacing between paragraphs and columns. We see a lot of columns that people try to list all the text in it. Columns are really just ways for people to read more information to get to the pages that include more details, but paragraphs should be 10 lines or less. You should keep 2 to 3 lines for columns, then add space just because that white space is really helpful. It helps reader not to skim as much, but actually take in the content. The next best practice is not to embed any text or logos within images. The number one reason for that is ADA compliant. When you embed text or logo, it's not something we could really capture with alt text. It also brings down our SEO score when we're not in compliant. The second reason with that is we think of the website as a house. So each house has different rooms, and then people can decorate the rooms differently, but the rooms should still feel like they're still part of the same house. So we want to definitely have the same feel when it comes to the CSU Pubble website, so that every unit has its own individual things that they're doing, but the same experiences are shown and the images all reflect the same CSU Public experiences. Next, when it comes to images, we really encourage people to portray or showcase real campus experiences. There are some stock photos that appear like they could be on campus, and we do allow those, but for the most part, it's the real campus student experiences that we want to showcase. The last one is to always add images as main content section. We do see people sometimes trying to embed an image into the editor because it is an option within that editor. It gives you that choice, but we don't recommend you add it through the editor, mainly because it screws up with the sizing on the mobile devices as well. It might look great on the desktop, but it won't work well, and it takes away the image size standards right away. The image size standards were carefully picked so that they would be compatible with all types of mobile sizes. So please make sure you are adding images as a main content section and not embedded. And that's basically it. If you have any questions, you can email us at webdev@csupublic.edu. Thank you and have a wonderful day.